It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, David Weiss. Hey, David, how are you?
Doing well, Doug. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. You've got a podcast called The Flat Earth Podcast. Is that correct?
Correct. The Flat Earth Podcast, the website and the podcast by the same name.
Okay. I'm going to assume by the title then that that the Earth is flat. Is that correct?
Just as we see it, feel it, and every scientific experiment has ever shown, the Earth is flat and stationary. We've just been taught a lot of nonsense.
Okay. Well, I'm an open-minded guy, and I try not to be biased on my show because there's enough of those out there already, and one of the things that I try to do is to be a non-biased person when I interview people, which seems to be a rarity these days.
But Doug, you're interviewing a guy that thinks the Earth is flat. Can't you be a little biased?
Well, I suppose for the sake of it, I could be. But yeah, I'm certainly going to question you on it, on why you think that, and
Sure. But let me explain what the flat Earth isn't, because the reason people laugh at flat Earth is because they've been indoctrinated to believe it's something that it's not. And what that is the flat Earth isn't a pancake floating in space with other round planets or even flat planets. The flat Earth is, the way I describe it, is the basement of the universe. I don't have better words for it. And everything we see in the sky is not in the solar system. It's within the Earth system. And the things that we see in the sky are not as what we are told. So just like a puddle accumulates in the low spot in the land, and the edge of the puddle is where the land is higher than the puddle, think of a bigger puddle is a pond and a lake bigger, and think of all of the world's oceans as a giant lake. And the land that surrounds that lake is the land that we call Antarctica. Okay?
All right.
Antarctica is the highest land on Earth, and we live in the Antarctic basin.
Okay. So I guess my question is, what would be the point of whoever it is has been lying to us for centuries, telling us the Earth was round? I mean, what difference does it make if it's flat or
we all
round?
ask that question, and I when I hear it early on, I know I'm talking to an intelligent person because jumping right to the chase. So, what difference does it make? It's not the shape of the Earth that matters; it's the lie that matters. So the difference that it makes is they want you to believe that you're a random accident living in a godless or distant god universe where an asteroid could take you out at any moment, where we're running out of dinosaur juice to run our cars, where all of these horrible things are happening to the point where we just give up all of our God-given free will and rights to people that we call the elite or the authorities that rule over us, when the truth is we're not a random speck spinning out of control in an infinite vacuum. We are at the center of creation, and we have God-given free will, and nobody has dominion over us. That we are great manifestors of things with our minds, but they have separated us. If all of humanity united together today, all of the world, all across the plane, the elite would have zero power. They would just be like a gnat. Just go away, you little pest. And the problem is they've divided us. They have us fighting amongst each other. They have us not knowing who we are, where we are, and what we are. And the analogy that I use is, the documentary with Keanu Reeves called The Matrix.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I call it a documentary. So at the beginning, Neo is he's very depressed. He's laying in his bed. He's on the early internet trying to figure out what the heck is wrong. And that's because his soul knows the truth of this world, but his brain does not. His conscious being, the person that they call Neo, doesn't know, and he's separated from his soul by design. And by the end of the movie, Neo finds out who he is, where he is, what he is, and he retakes his power back, and he becomes the own authority of his own life. And that's what this is all about. It's all about control.
Well, that I believe. And the one thing about when you talk about the elite, I mean, and the way that they have aligned themselves now with the other elites in the world, namely China, it all makes sense, and I interviewed somebody named Jennifer Zhang. I don't know if you know who she is.
I know the name.
She does a video podcast called The Inconvenient Truth, and she's got quite a big following. She was born in China, and she got put into a labor camp or a re-educational camp for 4 years because she practiced a different type of religion that was not approved by the Communist Party. And when she managed to escape, she moved to Australia, and then now she's in the United States. But she had some incredible insight on COVID and about the manipulation and control of the Chinese Communist Party. And when I start to see stuff like that happening here, then I begin to wonder. And, it's really manifested itself in this last, Trump sort of opened the Pandora's box and showed everybody, look, this is what's going on. And then, of course, the elite didn't like him, and they slammed him shut on this time around. So I don't like the state of the world right now. I really don't.
Well, so people say, hey, Dave, with what's going on in the world, why are you focusing on the flat earth? What doesn't matter? And you just asked that question. And it does matter because the reason that the world has been duped with this nonsense is because they're lost in space, spinning out of control, not knowing who they are, where they are, or what power they have. We have amazing power. Look at the civilization that was here before this round. In the 1800s, they were building buildings that we can't build today. There was a worldwide civilization building, there's pyramids all across the plain that line up with Giza, that line up with stars in the sky.
Right.
There was a worldwide free energy grid. And all of that's been taken away. There was some sort of reset in the late 1800s, and the people that took over the remains of this world decided to hide it from the peasants. We are the peasants, and the way they do that is with this what I call the globe lie.
Well, so who are these people? I mean, in China, it's pretty easy just to point the fingers at Xi Jinping and the Communist Party, but in this country, they're a little more vague.
It's vague. So all of the leaders of the world, the Rothschilds, the royal families, all of the ones that we see, those are the puppets of the real leaders that we don't ever get to see. They may not live within the world that we see. They may live beyond the shoreline of Antarctica and be ruling the world from afar. We don't know who they are. It's like, people's like, if you don't know, then they don't exist. Well, I'm like, well, if you shop at Costco, do you know who is running Costco? It's not the manager in the store. It's not the president of the division. There's people above them, which you could look up. But here, there's names that we don't know, but we can see who their pawns are and who are pulling the strings for them. You look at somebody like Bill Gates. Is he running the show, or is he also a puppet too? It's hard to say. It's
hard to say, and even Gates is not as significant to me as somebody like Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey.
Zuckerberg is Rockefeller's grandson.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, they're all related. It's all kept in the bloodlines of their families. That's why the elite, are known for just keeping their bloodlines pure, because there's something to that with the genetic memory that they use. And maybe they're living longer than us, or not sure what's going on there. But
that theory works for show dogs and show horses, so why not with people?
Yeah.
It's all about the bloodlines.
So when people first hear about flat Earth, just like I did, I wouldn't listen to anything. I banned people from my social media for even suggesting that I look. And then when I finally looked to prove that the Earth was a globe, or disprove flat Earth, I came out the other end empty-handed, and then realized, wow, this lie is so huge. I could see why people don't see it. Nobody likes having their ball taken away or their the entire rug ripped out from underneath them. This is a massive change in paradigm once you see it. But once you get over the shock of that, you literally become the Neo at the end of the movie versus the beginning.
So Flat Earth is a whole organization, or is it just you, or what is it? Exactly.
No organization. They say the Flat Earth movement, it's just
movement.
an awakening. People are awakening. It's 2021. Here's the thing. You said at the beginning, we've known for hundreds of years. That's a lie. In the 1920s, everybody knew the Earth was flat. In schools in Connecticut and across the United States and across the plain, they were teaching flat Earth everywhere. We found newspaper articles where teachers were being persecuted for introducing heliocentrism into the school program in the early 1900s. I interviewed a 102-year-old woman back in February of 2020 about the World's Fairs, which was another big rabbit hole. And she had such a great memory. I asked her, I said, what did they teach you in science about the Earth when you were in elementary school? And she said, they taught me the Earth was flat. This was in Connecticut in public school here.
Wow.
We found another woman from Croatia who said in the 1930s, all of the schools taught flat Earth. So this takeover is 100 years old, less than 100 years old.
So it started around the time of the Industrial Revolution, maybe a little bit
right
after.
Before World War, then they introduced, world wars, which are bankers' wars, and basically just to destroy history of what was here before. And then they basically, if you hide the history, people won't know who they are, where they are, what they are. Basically, the bottom line is the reason they hide the flat Earth is because once you see the creation, which is God's creation, the flat Earth, you know that it's intelligently designed, and then you have no excuse to deny God's existence. And they don't want that. They want you living in a world where you're a nihilistic atheist.
Right.
Impossible.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions. And you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Well, that's always been the first. Disarm the citizens, remove the religion from their souls and from their homes. And with that, they have control. Every communist country that has taken over, or every communist country that has become communist, has done just that in those orders, And
100%.
Yeah. Do you think the United States is on the brink of a civil war? Because I feel like we are as close as we've ever been. Even in the 60s, I mean, I was just a little kid, but it didn't seem this bad because even the people who were protesting on the college campuses, they were proud to wave American flags. They loved the country. They just didn't like particularly the war in Vietnam, but they were still patriots. And what I'm seeing on the left are people that really want to dismantle this country entirely.
Yeah, it's worse than that. We are as close to a civil war as possible, as you can imagine. But the problem is they've taken the drive out of man. They're trying to get rid of the alpha male. And they've done it with, soy and everything. And,
true.
They're feminizing the world. No offense, but they've feminized the world. And so there's not, those people, there's not as many alpha males around willing to defend themselves.
So what is a civil war in the United States going to look like these days? It's going to be bizarre. It's going to be real guerrilla-style warfare. Starts in the cities.
There's over 1 billion guns and only, a third of 1 billion people. So it could get ugly. But I don't know, where they're going to let it get. Are you familiar with the Deagle report?
No.
So it's Deagle.com, DEAGEL.com. And it's a website that reports world population and gross national product. And it came out in 2017, the latest. That's when we discovered it, and it has the U.S. population at 327 million, which is what we're told. But in the year 2025, it has the forecast, and the forecast for America, they had it at 100 million, and they just lowered it to 99 million, which isn't a big difference between those two numbers, but it's a big difference between the 2017 or today's number. So they are planning some sort of reset, and it lines up with the Georgia Guidestones. Are you familiar with those?
No.
So in Georgia, there's a Stonehenge type rock sculpture, gigantic, with in like a dozen different languages. It has like 10 commandments on it, and one of them is to never let the world population rise over 500 million again. So there's some crazy stuff going on. When we first discovered this, we're like, all right, how the heck is that ever going to happen? But what we see happening now, if their plans go through, if we run into these food shortages that are on the horizon right now, that we are going to be we could be in a very precarious situation. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know what's going to happen next. At least I know that I don't know.
Do you think COVID is going to is a part of this whole scheme?
The whole. So, this is a reset that happens every 100 years. In 1918, we were having the Spanish flu.
Spanish flu, right?
And everybody was wearing masks, and everybody was getting vaccinated because we had to protect our war heroes that were coming home, that were all sick from being overseas, or maybe they were sick from all the vaccinations they had. So there was something going on there, and then there was a massive die-off. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, I tried to post something on Facebook today talking about the rock, was it the island of Gibraltar that just everyone got the vaccines there, and a whole bunch of people died right after it, and Facebook wouldn't allow me to post it. Yeah, so
that's disturbing.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's an old age home up in upstate New York, has about 200 people in it. They had a couple COVID cases, but nobody was sick, just a couple positive tests, which are meaningless. And then 80% of them all got the vaccine, and within 1 week or 2 weeks, 24 people died. So
one of the things that Jennifer Zhang told me about was she was watching the COVID situation in Wuhan from basically December of 2019. And one of the things that she found very interesting, that she couldn't prove it, but at the end, you remember at the point where China just simply stopped reporting the number of dead? It stopped at like 4,000 people, and then that was it. They didn't report anymore, and they still haven't.
Well, China's open. They're barely wearing masks. No one's gotten vaccines. They're having rave parties and concerts.
Yeah.
So I think this entire COVID thing is literally it's possibly an engineered common cold. I mean, the chances of survival are far greater than the chances of survival from the vaccine. So it's unreal how people are falling for this nonsense. Hospitals are not overcrowded. They're empty. Okay, there's nurses and doctors reporting that these hospitals are empty. When they say a hospital, they're overflowing, it's because they've allocated 5 beds to COVID, and they have 6 COVID patients, right? So they're over capacity. They're 10-20% over capacity. That's how they're getting these numbers. It's complete and total nonsense. I mean, I should be dead. I haven't worn a mask. I've gone to a conference. We had a Flat Earth conference in South Carolina in October. I shop without a mask. I hug people. I kiss people, and I'm not sick. And now there is a thing, so something around you lose your sense of taste. But guess what? When you get sick, when you get the flu, you lose your sense of taste and smell. But nobody really wants to eat anyway, so they don't even complain about it, right? But now it's become a thing. It's like, oh my God, I can't smell or taste, and I feel crappy. You know what happened? What we did last year? You lay in bed for a couple of days. You don't go to work. You don't go to school, and nobody talks about it. You know that in 2018, more people died than in 2020? Worldwide?
Of what? Of just anything?
Just overall deaths, because they're just moving everything into the COVID column. Car crashes, COVID deaths, heart attacks, cancer. They're all moving them into the COVID column, and so the COVID numbers are going up, but all the other numbers are going down. Overall deaths in 2018 were more than 2020.
It's unbelievable.
It is, and that's the problem. It's unbelievable, and people can't see the lie. It's literally like the flat Earth. It's such a big lie, people can't see it, and they don't understand how important it is to see it and to say no. We live in a world where we have dominion over our lives, but if we don't say no, we're saying yes. We're consenting by not saying no. It's as simple as saying no.
Yeah. You know what it is, though? It's human nature for a lot of people to be easy. It's easier to be a sheep.
Absolutely. It's so easy to be a sheep.
Yeah.
But belief is the enemy of knowing. You can believe something, watch the news, believe it, you're done. Now you can go drink a beer, watch a movie, take a nap. But if you want to know something, you got to take the time, the effort. You have to be willing to go against what the other sheep are grazing on and be willing to take some heat for it. This flat Earth journey I've been on is, wasn't easy. It's getting easier because people are waking up. It's amazing. I'm doing, I have 27 interviews this week. People are so interested in talking about this. And their audience is anybody that listens or watches my videos or, researches it. And I'm going to tell you the best way to research it. They wake up and their lives change and they say, wow, it does matter. Wow, it really makes a difference. Here's the thing. They're hiding flat Earth from you. If you Google top 10 reasons the Earth is a globe, you're going to get nonsense. You're going to get boats over the horizon, sunsets, seasons, Aristophanes with sticks and shadows. You're going to get all of this stuff that you've been brainwashed to believe is proof. But when you actually look at it, it's not. It's pseudoscience. And you'll see how it makes way more sense on a flat, stationary Earth where we live inside the Earth system. It's not crazy. What's crazy is the nonsensical model, I call it, of a spinning, whirling, twirling, whizzing planet, in an infinite space vacuum. None of that makes any sense. It breaks every law of physics, and there's nothing to it that makes sense. Here's what you do, and I created an app. It's for iPhones and for Androids. You have to have Android 8.0 operating system or higher, or an iPhone 6 or better, and it's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock. If you just put in Flat Earth Clock, it'll come up. It's by Blue Water Bay. It's $2.99, and it shows you all of the things that I was just talking about. That every day a new video shows up as a featured video, and it's stuff that YouTube or Google will not serve you. And what I tell people is take the Flat Earth app challenge. Get the app. Watch the video every day for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, if you think you have one proof of the globe, just one, send it to me. I'll refund your $2.99 and I'll give you a full Bitcoin. Okay? And before you send it to me, hit the FAQ button on the app. Up pops up 21 buttons with the top 21 questions. You click that. It brings you to video evidence, experiments that you can do yourself. It brings you to all the information visually, scientifically, not speculatively, and it'll show you how those things only work on a flat Earth.
Well, that sounds interesting. That does.
It is interesting.
Yeah. We do have to wrap this up. What is the website again?
TheFlatEarthPodcast.com. The Flat Earth Podcast. And if you have a podcast player on your phone, just type in The Flat Earth Podcast, and you can take the challenge there. Listen to the first 10 episodes, and if you're not a flat earther by the end of that, you probably weren't listening.
All right. David, thanks so much for coming on. This was very enlightening.
And thanks. And my final statement is you could lead a man to flat water, but you can't make him think critically about the shape